Publishing content on LinkedIn is the number one thing you can do to build your personal brand and your business. If you get it right, you'll be able to reach and influence millions of people, create trust at scale, and generate a consistent stream of new opportunities for your business. But if you get it wrong, you risk wasting thousands of hours and money on content that actually does more harm than good and damages your reputation. I've been posting content for over 5 years. I've built my audience to over 50,000 people, and I've published thousands of pieces of content myself. My team and I collectively have produced over 40,000 posts for our clients. So we know what works and what doesn't. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact 3-step system we use to build strategies for all of our clients so that you can use it yourself, how we write posts that get hundreds of thousands of views, and at the end, I'll even give you a 6-step post framework you can use to write bangers every single time. So how do I actually write posts that get 100,000 views? You can see here I've got a few examples of content that I've written that's got well over 100,000 views, and actually there's 4 reasons I'm able to do this, because in every single post I give 4 reasons for my audience to stick around and engage with it. I'm going to show you what they are, but before we do that, it's important you understand the content strategy behind this. And we actually have this shockingly simple 3-step content strategy that we use with all of our clients, and it works every single time. Because if you think about it logically, there are only ever 3 things you need to do with your content online. Anything beyond this is just overcomplicating it when you're just getting started. You need to get in front of new people, so new people who don't currently know you exist need to become aware that you exist. If someone's going to engage with you or follow you or ultimately buy from you or invite you to be on their podcast or invite you to come and speak at their event, they need to first know you exist. That is the very first step in building a relationship with someone. So some of our content needs to be geared purely towards getting new people to know we exist. But we also want those people to trust us. So we've got to build trust with the pool of people that actually knows who we are. What we don't want is this massive pool of people, hundreds of thousands of people that know who we are, but no one actually sees us as an expert or trusts us as an authority. That's how you have a massive following, but a very small bank balance. And once we've got in front of new people and we've built trust with that pool of people that already knows we exist, we're well positioned to actually turn those connections into clients and convert them into paid customers. Because I don't know about you, but ultimately I'm in this to generate more business. I don't just want to post to boost my ego online. I actually want to generate business off the back of my personal brand. And that gives us 3 types of content we need to publish. This is really, really simple. We need to publish growth-based content to get in front of new people. We need to publish higher authority content to build trust with those people. And we need to post conversion content in order to turn our connections into clients. And you can see this like a traditional marketing funnel. We've got to get people in the top end through our growth content to make new people aware we exist. We've then got to push them through the consideration stages with growth content that build our authority and help them trust us, and then we can convert them into customers through our conversion content. And that's the exact strategy that I use myself to generate results like this. But it's not just the views and the visibility that is amazing, it's also the pipeline that I'm able to generate. And typically we have 30 to 50 new opportunities drop into our calendars every single month from the content that I put out on LinkedIn. And there's 4 reasons I'm able to generate hundreds of thousands of views on my content and actually build my pipeline. It's because in every single post I give people a reason to read, I give people a reason to trust, I give them a reason to remember, and I give them a reason to engage. And you need to do all 4 of those things in every single post. And before I explain exactly how you do that, it's important that you actually understand how LinkedIn's algorithm works. So this is directly from LinkedIn. This is the actual system they use in their algorithm. And if you understand this, you can start working with the algorithm and aligning yourself with LinkedIn rather than constantly feeling like you're battling against the algorithm. If you understand this, you start to unlock all sorts of possibilities when it comes to creating your content. So this is from LinkedIn themselves. When you actually produce content, a few things happen. Firstly, it goes through what is actually an AI classifier. So there's an AI model that classifies your content, which is essentially there to detect spam. Now, I'm going to presume for the sake of this video that you're going to pass the spam filter. The only reason you probably wouldn't pass the spam filter is if you're being abusive, you're including certain negative keywords like swearing. Anything overly political could get pulled up. If it's abusive, racist, sexist, it's obviously going to get pulled up and should be. And the AI will automatically detect that and filter it out, and you won't get any views on content. If it's kind of on the fence and the AI can't tell, it will go to a human review, and a human will actually step in and moderate this. And again, if they think it breaches LinkedIn's policies, it will filter the content, meaning it won't show it to anyone. I'm going to presume, for the argument's sake, that you pass both the AI and the human review of this, of the content. What's going to happen then is LinkedIn is actually going to start displaying it. So this is where our content gets sent out to our initial audience. LinkedIn is going to be showing that to your first degree connections, so people that you are connected with, they follow you, you follow them. And it's going to monitor for engagement signals on that. So engagement signals are things like likes, comments, reposts, but also dwell time, which is how long someone spends on the post. Now, the reason LinkedIn is monitoring for these sorts of things is because LinkedIn is a business. Yes, it's a social network, a social media platform, but LinkedIn is a business and LinkedIn want to make more money. How do they make more money? Well, they make money from two sources. They make it from ad revenue. So that's when you see an ad on the platform, someone has paid to put that ad in front of your eyes, and they make it from selling premium products. So things like LinkedIn Premium, Sales Navigator, Recruiter. Those are the only ways LinkedIn really makes a lot of money. And in order to do both of those things, they need lots of people on the platform having a good experience. The more people that use the platform and the more people that turn up daily, because they're having a good experience on the platform, the more likely they are to buy premium services and the more likely they are to see ads, which LinkedIn can charge for. So in short, having more people spending more time on LinkedIn makes LinkedIn money. Once you understand that, you can start working with LinkedIn to create an experience for people where they do want to come back to LinkedIn over and over again and they actually engage in your content. The way LinkedIn detects whether people are having a good experience on the platform is through these engagement signals. So for LinkedIn, if they are liking, commenting, reacting, sharing your content, or they're spending lots of time on it, that indicates to LinkedIn that they're having a good experience because of your content. LinkedIn is going to promote that content because they want more people to have that experience. And this is where you will start to see some virality. You're starting to get lots and lots of views on the content, the engagement's picking up, and LinkedIn will actually detect that virality. It will detect that lots of people are enjoying this content. It will then go to another human review, and provided it's not marked as spam in that point, it will then continue displaying, and you create this continuous loop of your content being shown to more people, picking up more engagement, and therefore being shown to more people again. And that's how you're able to generate pieces of content that get hundreds of thousands of views. So now you understand this, you can start working with LinkedIn to produce content that actually aligns with what they want. So how do you do that? Well, there's 4 reasons you need to give people to actually stay on your content, stick around and engage with it. And every single post I put out, I make sure there's a reason to read the content in the first place. So in any one day, there are thousands of posts in your audience's feed that they could read, they could engage with. So why would they stop and actually read yours or watch your video or look at the image that you shared? We need to give people a reason to stop and actually give their attention to us. At the same time, they've also got notifications, emails, stimuli in their environment. There are lots of things distracting people from our posts. So we've got to work really, really hard to capture that attention and make sure they're giving it to us. And the way we do that is by having a really strong hook in the first 1 to 2 lines that grabs people's attention and leaves them feeling like they have to consume the rest of the post. But once we've got their attention, we also need to give them a reason to trust us. Because the immediate and unspoken question on anyone's mind when they're consuming your content is, why should I listen to you? Especially if they've never heard of you before. Why should I listen to you on this specific topic? Why are you well positioned to talk about it? And this is where embedding your own personal credibility is really important into a post, that people see why they should listen to you. This is why 20-year-old life coaches don't work. I, for example, am not qualified to give life advice to a 40-year-old because I have none of that experience. I am, however, qualified to give advice on posting content and personal branding because, well, I've built a 50,000 follower audience myself. I've published thousands of pieces of content. So we need to give people a reason to trust us on this specific topic. We then need to give them a reason to remember us. So we don't just want people to read our content, get some value out of it, and then leave and never think about us again. We want them to actually remember us. That makes them far more likely to like, comment, and actually share our content with other people or send it to a friend. And the way you give someone a reason to remember is, after you've actually shared value, is give them a 1 to 2 line, maybe 3 line summary of what you've said in a really catchy manner. That's going to be, it's kind of like your mic drop moment, right? If you imagine yourself speaking on stage, you finish your talk, you give that mic drop moment, those couple of lines, you drop the mic and you walk off and everyone applauds. Everyone remembers that moment. You need to do the same at the end of your content. You need to give people that snappy takeaway that they will remember going into tomorrow. That means when they next see your content, they're far more likely to consume that piece of content as well. So we're essentially encouraging people to come back to our content in the future with this. And we also need to give people a reason to engage. Engagement, as we've seen from the algorithm, drives your virality. So the more engagement you get, the more visibility you're going to get, the more views you're going to get on that post. So one easy way to get more engagement is just by giving people a reason to engage, asking them a question or giving them a call to action to leave a comment or to like or to repost. Simply telling people to do that is enough to massively increase the number of people that actually do it. And there are a few different types of content that you can use to drive engagement. You can use text-only content, you can share images, carousels, videos, you can also write articles and newsletters. Now, the only 2 to avoid here are articles and newsletters. I wouldn't post any of these if you want to go viral. They simply do not generate anywhere near the volume of views that the other types of content will. And actually, these are notable poor performers on LinkedIn. They're pretty much a waste of time. I wouldn't bother posting them. You want to focus all your attention on the other types of content. Text-based content is obviously the typical format people will use on LinkedIn. You can also add images, carousels, and videos to go alongside your text, which I recommend doing. Firstly, because of the screen space that these take up. If you purely look at the screen space taken up by a text-based post and a text plus image or text plus carousel, text plus video, the screen space is much larger, so you have much more digital real estate, if you like, to capture someone's attention. The images, carousels, videos, they're a visual piece of content that you can use to capture someone's attention and get them to consume your content. They're also individual pieces of content in themselves. So if you're just posting text-based content, you have one opportunity to get someone to engage, and that's with your text. Whereas if you post text and image, for example, if you have complementary text and image-based content going together, people could consume just the image or just the text and still engage. Or if you shared a video, some people might watch the video and not read the text and leave a like. Some people might just read the text and not watch the video and leave a like. So you want to try and marry up text with image or carousel or video-based content. These will go through phases where they perform particularly well at a certain time. So video had its time toward the back end of 2024. Video was just flying on LinkedIn because they were testing their own TikTok-like mobile video feed. And there was such an excess in demand for video content, the supply wasn't high enough that if you actually posted video during that time, you would get loads and loads of views pretty much guaranteed. Carousels went through a period at the start of 2025 where they picked up loads and loads of engagement. They were just, a hot topic on LinkedIn. Lots of people were using them and they were performing very, very well. The most reliable format and the most accessible for pretty much everyone is going to be text and image-based content. So that's your default go-to when you're publishing content, is do text plus image. It's always been a consistent high performer. And let's look at some of these principles in action. So you can see the content here, right? I was talking about how you can use images firstly to capture attention. These two images are very striking. They stand out in the feed, they're going to capture attention, they increase the feed space taken up, but they're also complementary to the copy that's shared with them. So this is a post where someone could consume this text and they could find this valuable and leave a like, or they could just read this, just look at the image, probably spend a lot of time actually digesting everything that's included in the image, therefore increasing the dwell time on this piece of content, and they could like as a result. And you can see this is racked up 710 likes, 182 comments, 45 reposts, and over 87,000 views. Similarly with this one, it literally gives a LinkedIn profile guide in the image that people are going to spend a lot of time on, a lot of time digesting, with complementary text to go with it. So there's two opportunities here to capture attention. There's two opportunities for people to spend a lot of time on the post. And again, you can see the engagement on this is pretty good. If you want to take this to the next level though, and you really want to master content creation, you need to understand the curiosity loop. If you understand this, you will unlock all sorts of growth from your personal brand. Your content should be designed to continuously open and close curiosity loops. What I mean by this is creating curiosity and then satiating that curiosity, but then creating new curiosity and satiating it, and continuing that cycle where you're getting people interested in what you're about to say next, delivering value, then getting them interested in what you're about to say next. If you understand this, you're going to keep people hooked on content over and over again. And this is what all your favorite TV series and movies do. They constantly open and close curiosity loops. You can do this with really strong hooks. So a strong hook is going to open a curiosity loop at the start. Someone should read your hook and feel like they have to find out what the rest of the post says. You need to make sure you have a really strong value to time ratio. So for the amount of time someone spends on your content, they need to get a lot of value out of it. For every few lines, there has to be as much value as possible packed into that. And at the end of every post, try and give people a holy shit moment. It's like the aha, the light bulb that goes off in their head. That's going to be the thing that they remember for next time. If you master these three things, you're going to be continuously opening and closing curiosity loops, and people are going to be addicted to your content. So how do you actually create viral content every single time? Well, there's a formula for this that we've used, and there's actually 6 things that you can do to make sure every time you post a piece of content, you're getting loads and loads of views on that content. The first thing you need to understand is finding the right angle. So the same topic can be very, very interesting, or it can be very boring, depending on the angle you apply to it. For example, if I started this video with 5 tips for posting good content, you probably wouldn't have watched it. It's a very boring angle. But changing it to how I write posts that get hundreds of thousands of views, which is kind of the angle for this video, it's the same information I'm sharing, but packaged in a completely different way. There's a much stronger angle to it. So you need to find the angle behind your content first. And there's a few ways to do that. You can find contrarian opinions, make something surprising, think of things that are unexpected. Really, this is all designed to get people curious. You're opening that curiosity loop. Alongside that, you then need to put that into a hook that's going to grab people's attention. So the angle and the hook go together, hand in hand. Once you've got the angle, you need to find a hook that leaves people wanting more. There's 2 ways to do that. Leave them on a cliffhanger, so you can tell half the story. You might give people the middle and the start of the story, but not the end. You might give people the start and the end of the story, but not the middle. But leave them wanting to fill in the gaps. Or you can promise value. if you promise to teach people something, they're going to stick around in order to actually find that value. Of course, if you do that, you have to make sure you deliver on it. If you do those two things, you've got the makings of a great post. They're the first two steps to writing really viral content, but it doesn't stop there. You also need to then provide digestible value. So if you've found a strong angle and you've made a strong hook, people are expecting a lot out of this. Now, value could come in a number of forms. Value could be education, it could be entertainment, it could be inspiration, it could even be relatability. It doesn't just have to be teaching people something, but it's going to be one of those four things. You need to make sure you do that if you've promised to provide something, because otherwise it essentially is clickbait, and you don't want to build a reputation for someone that publishes clickbait content. Keyword here though is digestible. It's not just about providing content, it needs to be digestible as well. And the way you make it digestible is you write at a grade 5 reading level. So actually most people, their reading level is below grade 5. So you need to create grade 5 reading level so it's really, really simple for people to consume. Short sentences, again, people are extremely lazy. There is content on LinkedIn that you're competing with that is really simple and easy to read. So if you're not creating short sentences that are easy for people to read, they're just going to go to another piece of content that is easier. Our brains naturally want the easiest option, so don't make it hard for someone to consume your content. Similarly with white space just increases the perceived ease at which they're going to consume this content. It's very visual for them to understand a post if there's lots of white space. It's easier on the eye. Try and share frameworks and processes as much as possible. So if you take information and package it up in a framework or a process, the perceived likelihood of success and therefore the perceived value of that information is far higher. So just sharing information in and of itself is not actually that valuable. Putting it into a system that people can implement step by step makes it a lot easier for them to consume and actually get results from. It also makes you come across as more of an authority because you've clearly thought about the information you're sharing and understand it better. And use lists where appropriate. Lists are an easy way to make content more digestible. Rather than sharing long sentences and big paragraphs, just break things down into really simple lists. If you do that, you've found a great angle, you've got a really strong hook and you're providing digestible value. There's a lot of reason for people to actually stick around and consume this content. You then need to leave them with a mic drop takeaway. So this is the fourth thing that you're going to do in your post, is have a mic drop takeaway. I gave that analogy of you speaking on stage before. Exactly the same here. Imagine you've just finished your speech, you give that mic drop moment, you drop the mic and you walk off stage. It's those 2 to 3 lines that summarize what you said. The way to think about this is just take what you've already said in the value that you shared and package it up in the most digestible, catchy way. 2 or 3 lines that summarize what you said. It needs to be really memorable and catchy. That's going to get people sticking around to consume your content next time. The next part is adding in a PS. So a PS is a great opportunity for you to add a call to action to get people to engage with the post. You can share further value, or you can actually signal your authority. So signaling your authority is maybe sharing some of the results that you've personally been able to get using this system, which shows that you are credible to speak about this topic. You're cementing the authority that you've probably already built at the start of the post. The PS is often one of the most read parts of a post, apart from the hook. Even in emails, the first line, the subject line, and the PS are the 3 most read parts of an email. So this is a real opportunity for you to signpost any other key information. Adding in a PS is an excellent way to do that. And the final thing is you need to use complementary creative. So having creative that doesn't say exactly the same thing as the post, but says something complementary. So the two both make sense on their own, i.e. the text and the carousel, or the text and the video, would make sense and provide value to your audience in isolation. If you separated them and just gave one or the other, they would make sense in isolation. But put together, they also make sense. So they're not 2 completely different pieces of content that aren't related. They have to be related, but still make sense on their own. That's what complementary creative means. So this really should supplement the copy, and it should make sense on its own. One really good way to put all of this together whilst actually building your authority and booking meetings off the back of this viral content is to ensure the body of your content where you're providing digestible value is really high authority, takes people through a step-by-step framework, is very targeted to your ICP, but then your creative is a little bit more broad, a little bit easier to understand, and is relevant to people beyond the ICP. That's how you get quite targeted reach and very targeted messaging to the right people, but also have enough mass appeal to go viral and get results like I showed you up here. And that is the basics of high-performing content. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, subscribe so I know to create more content like this in the future. If you've got questions on how to produce great content, leave a question in the comments and I'll get back to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.